And we're live. Welcome back, everybody, to Behind the ToolBelt. Today is episode 237. We have another special guest. Stay tuned. We will be back after a short intro from our sponsors.
TC Backer. Roofing, siding, windows, gutters, solar. Roofing, siding, windows, gutters, solar. TC Backer.
My name is Ty Backer. The name of the podcast is called Behind the ToolBelt. Thank God this isn't live, or is it? You assholes go live. We might be here for a while, so buckle down. Welcome back, everybody. Sit back, relax, enjoy your lunch. I got another great guest today, David Gatto from Future Solutions, Fencing and Outdoors. My friend, know David for now a few years now.
Yeah.
And you were on the show back down at the other studio.
Yes.
Down there back when we were still kind of figuring out, we still are trying to figure this thing out. And since then, we've switched times around. We've kind of switched the studio up here to the new office. That way I can kind of, and Vic isn't held hostage on Wednesday nights anymore either. So it's kind of during normal business hours. So it's kind of like a part of the workday now.
Yes.
And so it's cool. Thank you for coming on and carving out some time. I know you're a busy guy. I know you're very successful in life, with family, with business, and from the looks of it, you're probably one of the most wealthiest people I know. And what I mean by wealthy is because I know you have a loving wife and loving children, and
Yes.
and that's how we kind of measure our wealth, our success today. It's kind of giving me goosebumps because I know your story.
Yeah.
I know where you come from, and I know you haven't forgotten where you came from and the impact that you're trying to have on our local community, which is awesome. And we kind of feed off each other. We don't talk all the time, but like we both inspire each other, because you'll shoot me a message every now and then like, dude, you're crushing it. And, and thank you for that. And I'm guilty of not doing that as much as I probably should, but I know that you're inspired, by what we do. And I know we're inspired by what it is that you do over there, whether it's Toys for Tots. I know you do that cold plunge challenge, man. Like you're in it. It's like you're having fun, and it's cool to watch you and your team actually having fun, even during normal business hours. You guys are just freaking crushing it. So why don't you, we can talk about whatever we want to talk about, but if you just want to give our viewers and listeners maybe a little brief, who David Gatto is, what you're doing today, and maybe what the goal is. What is your why today?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll talk about my background a little bit.
Okay.
It's a checkered past. Without getting into war story and stuff like that, I'm just going to say like this, like, hey, because I like to put it out there for people. I like to show people who maybe have been in my position or who are in my position from the previous life, from how they used to be, that there's hope out of that. Right. So, I did 11 years in prison. I was in various different rehabs, mental institutions, psych wards, halfway houses, three-quarter houses. So I was addicted to drugs and alcohol for a long time. And then one day that all stopped. In 2014, I had gotten arrested for a retail theft. I went to prison. And when I got out of jail, I was sleeping in a cemetery in York, Pennsylvania, which is on top of the hill on George Street out there. And I happened to run into a guy who changed my life. That guy was Robert Allen. And so Bob Allen runs Life Speaking Foundation. And he took me in with no money. I had nothing to offer the guy. And, he showed me true love, right? When somebody helps you out, when you don't have nothing to offer them, that's like my definition of love. Yeah. Right there.
Yeah.
And, so from that recovery house, that's where Future Solutions Fence and Outdoor was born. That's where my recovery started in 2014. And I literally rebuilt my life with no driver's license, no money, no vehicle. I walked around pushing a wheelbarrow filled with tools that was borrowed from Bob Allen, and went and knocked doors and sold jobs and built what I have today. And, just to sum it up, I'm living my dream life. I have a wife. I have 4 beautiful children. I have 3 daughters and a son. I have a great, thriving business. We have a couple locations. I have an excellent staff, and my life's full. Like I was telling Ty earlier, after this, I'm setting up for my daughter's 5th birthday party, which I wouldn't miss for the world. So, that's just a little bit about my background and where I'm at today.
Yeah. And you put it very nicely. You wrapped it up and packaged it nice and didn't go too far out in the weeds, but let's give Bob Allen a big shout out. It's kind of giving me goosebumps. That guy has helped so many people and has a very similar, familiar path as you and I, and maybe worse, maybe better in some instances, but big shout out to Bob. But one thing, and the reason why I wanted to shout him out was because you had mentioned, open arms and love, right? And 2 things went through my head is the heart that Bob's got, right? Like that's a lot. The guy has devoted his entire life to helping men and a few women over the years. He's been doing this a long time, way before our time.
Yeah.
And so he's been kind of like one of the trailblazers and mentors, of sorts for both of us, because he was there for me too. I never had to stay at his place, but he did. He helped me with, I needed to do community service and things like that. But I have referred a lot of people over to him. So he's impacted many people's lives. But you had touched on love. And I thought to myself, when you were staying in that cemetery and stuff, and like you just needed that break. You needed to catch a break. And there appeared Bob Allen.
Yeah.
Right. With that love. And it's like sometimes we need people to love us, at least until we can start loving ourselves. Let's talk about that a little bit and dive into that, where you had that paradigm shift and how maybe that second chance and that love that you experienced at that moment. How do you think that impacted your trajectory to help get you where you're at today?
Yeah. And, so touching on that, and also, so Bob, the type of guy that he is, the type of person who he likes to help, he likes to help the people that nobody else will. Everybody's done with them. You already ran all your games on them. You're out of the house. You're not even allowed on the couch. You're not allowed in the neighborhood. So Bob helps that type of person out. And, when I had gotten released and I was walking around, I remember being freezing cold outside, right? And I can remember just, I couldn't even wear my clothes that I was arrested in, because when I was arrested, they were soaking wet, so they were covered in mold, right? And so I had on some orange shoes, the Bobos. I had on some, like a commissary T-shirt, one of the white V-necks, and I had, the sweatpants on that the prison sells on commissary. And I remember just being freezing and I wanted to give up, right? And I'm like, man, because I had $2 in my pocket, right? And the thought came to me. I said, why don't I take this $2, go grab yourself a beer and just warm up, right? And then we could figure this thing out, just like old times, right? And so I feel like a miracle had happened in my life there, because I remember looking to the left and seeing Third Base, which is the beer and chicken joint down there, and having there was that moment in there where I could have did it and I didn't do it, right? And I just kept pushing on. And it was, it's the kind of love when I ran into Bob, when I seen that somebody was willing to take a chance on me, I decided it in that moment. I said, I'm going to give it my all, right? It's not like I'm going to slip on a banana peel and use again, right? It's a conscious decision.
Yeah.
And, really, Bob just took me under his wing. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And mentored me and showed me how to live life again sober. So, it changed my life drastically. And Bob's still involved in my life. I talk to him on a regular basis, and I help some people out from the Beacon, and whether it be with work or maybe mentorship or stuff like that. And, so it's had a big impact on my life.
No doubt. Yeah. And why would you say you still are in contact with Bob, and why are you helping people today?
It's one of those things, like, you got to give it away to keep it, right? So, like, we have this obligation, right, to extend the hand out to other people, which, I'm not going to lie, I'm not always the best at it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to sit here on camera and say that's how I live my life all the time,
Yeah.
because I get in bad spaces too. But we owe it out there to give somebody else the gift that was freely given to us.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I mean, Bob's just a part of my life. He's been a part of my business. He's helped me grow my company. My building belongs to Allen Oil, and I lease it off them, and it's Bob's family. And I've helped the Beacon out over the years and different things. And they've helped us out more than we've helped them out. But that we got to be in that cycle of giving it back to get it. It's like an ecosystem.
Yeah.
If you don't give it, you don't get it back.
Exactly.
Right? It's like if it were to rain outside and the earth just held all the rain and didn't give it back, everything would die, right? But it gives it back. And it rains some more. So it's like an ecosystem.
Yeah.
That's the way I see it anyway.
Yeah. And, that's the thing. And I'm glad you said what you said, because, I say that quite often. I was in an interview with, Ed Weinstock one time at the 21 Turkey Salute. And he asked me why we did this. And I said, you got to give it away to keep it. And he kind of looked at me, like he didn't understand, what, give away the whole farm. And that's not what that means. Right. That is give even when I don't have enough, you know what I mean? And that's what Bob has done. And that's the example, Bob. And at first I don't think I understood that either, but being a person in recovery, right. And I think this goes for most human beings in general. I think we're born selfish.
Yes.
Okay. As a baby, as an infant, we're very selfish and self-centered. And if I don't get my way, I'm going to scream and holler and complain and do all those things until I get what I want. So it's kind of like a selfish act. And I think, and we're so used to being catered to, and we feel like the world owes us something. And I'm sure you can relate to that, because it was like, if you would have grew up the way that I would have grew up, you would drink and use drugs the way that I used drugs.
Right.
You know what I mean? All these excuses, right? So we come in, we meet people like Bob, and whether it's court ordered or whatever, however we got here, right? But we find people like him, and we see them devoting their time, a good bit of their time. And we hear people say things like, we got to give this thing away to keep it. And it's kind of like, that helps us remove self from self. Whenever we're going through something, right? Like we didn't have a toolbox before on how to deal with life on life's terms. Okay. And that's unfortunate for normal earthlings, that they're not provided a toolbox that we've been provided with. Well, in this toolbox, when I open it up, there's also a manual in there, right? And some people call it the big book, some call it the 12 and 12, or whatever other literature that we're reading at the time. But usually there's another unspoken manual in there. And it says we must give this away if we want to keep it. So anytime I get in a jackpot, right, I need to pour into other people, because it removes me from me. And then I come to find out that my problems aren't as big as that person, what they're going through. But what's cool about it is, because of our experience, we have been in their shoes. We know that feeling. We know where they're at. And what's cool is that somebody showed up for us. Now it's our moral obligation to show up for them. What has been so freely given to us, we need to reciprocate that to another individual. And that's how this paradox works. We need to step out of self, jump in, get on their level, and say to them, you know what? This is what has been said to me. I no longer have to feel the way that I'm feeling right now ever again. But I have to make that conscious decision. Right. And they talk about the not to get too far out in the weeds on this, but there's 3 steps. I can, he can, I think I'll let him. All right. So I admitted, I made a decision. Right. And then I believe, and then all I have to do is make a decision. That's the first 3 steps. Make a decision to turn my life and my will over to something, right? Where I was the poster child for self-will run riot. Like literally it wasn't my mugshot either. If you looked up self-will in the dictionary, my mugshot would probably be in there if they still had a Webster. I don't know if you can still buy Websters or not.
Sure you could.
Yeah, probably. We have Google today. But anyhow, Google, no, I'm just kidding.
And AI.
But that's the thing. And that's just one very small aspect of what that means by giving this thing away in order to keep it. And then they talk about practicing these principles in all of our affairs. And David, this is where I think you and I really jive on this, because we have carried what we've learned from people like Bob Allen and some other groups of circles of people that we run with in our personal life. We not only practice those in those circles, we're in the trenches where people need help. We tend to bring that into our home life.
Yeah.
We tend to bring that stuff into our personal life. So it's kind of like the way that we run our organizations is how we would want to be treated as individuals. And then we create a culture. And at least for us here, everybody under this roof, whether they know it or not, practices these in recovery or not in recovery. And now I think they've heard me say this long enough that they too practice these principles in their lives as well, because that's kind of like our core values are kind of built around, the principles that we're talking about right now. And again, I'm not trying to break anonymity. I'm not trying to be the press, the media, and all this stuff. But I think the point that we're trying to make and why we're talking about this topic right now is that, if no one gets anything else out of this, like if anyone's ever struggling with mental issues, drug addiction, alcoholism, please reach out to David. I'm sure I can speak on David's behalf, or Vic. Please reach out to any one of us. And we just want people to know that there is hope. And if you can go from a jail cell to I don't even know what size your warehouse is down there now, to, from a jail cell floor to a 5,000, at least 5,000 square foot warehouse. 15. Yeah, it's huge. It's huge. It's like a block long size warehouse, the penthouse. If you can go from the jailhouse floor to the penthouse, right? Like anybody can. Yeah. Would you agree with that?
100%. I mean, I don't have a college education. I think I made it to the 8th grade. I lived in the streets. I went to prison. So, if you're out there and you're trying to start your business, you got to think about it like that. You got to think about it like, hey, if somebody starting from the very bottom with all them things taken away, like literally living in a halfway house without even a vehicle, if they could get that going, if I could get that going, you could get it going, right? Because you're nothing special. It's not like I have a degree, right? Which, I wish I did sometimes.
Yeah.
But
me too.
I used to bash education a lot. And then I started realizing, man, I wish I would have took a few marketing courses. Or accounting courses. But man, if we could do it, why can't anybody else?
And that's a good segue, because like we talked about, you run a very successful organization over there. And it's, that's the thing I think, at least for me, and I know for you, because we've had this conversation before, and I think I've even seen you post stuff on social about surrounding ourselves, being humble enough. And I think we touched on this even before the podcast, was being humble enough, and this goes for any business, right? But, if we're done with the subject of recovery and stuff, any business organization, right? Like, I can't go to school for everything, even if I went to school.
Yeah.
Okay. And so that's general education. That would be, we would have to be accountants, business majors, all the marketing majors, CPA, attorney, like we just don't have enough time. There's not enough time in the day or lifespan for us to educate ourselves in all these facets of life to become this perfect business foundation, blah, blah, blah. So what we have done is we've surrounded ourselves around smarter people than we are
100%
in certain aspects of our business. And I always use our website designer guy as an example. Could I build a website? You're right. There's not much I can't accomplish. And I've proven that to myself many times over and over and over, usually the very hard way. That's why. Okay. Through trial, errors, mistakes, I've made more mistakes than anything. And one of them would have been probably to try to create a website.
1,000%.
Okay. So why would I take 3 to 6 months to try to educate myself and design, copy, paste, whatever all these platforms are that it takes, WordPress, all this stuff, right, to create a website? Why would I do that when all I got to do is hire a guy?
Right.
It takes him 30 days.
Right.
We do some approvals. Yep. Love it. Looks great.
Yeah.
And then outside of that, so if I would have did it myself, now I got to figure out Google. We talked about that.
SEO.
Right. So before we leave, let me introduce you to John, our Google guy. So long story short, our website guy, we ended up hiring him. He came to work for us full time now. He operated our website.
Empinati or
no, John Stauffer. Big Stauffer. Okay. Yeah, big shout out to John Stauffer. you reached out to me. Before you leave, I'll introduce you to John.
Absolutely.
He'll answer any questions you need. We call him Google John.
Yeah.
Google Johnny is what my dad calls him.
Well, there's a lot to it.
Yeah.
There really is.
So why would I inundate myself all day long working on the PPC, pay-per-clicks, Google ads, the map, all the pages. Yeah, all this stuff. Like, not that I don't want to know how these things work, but I don't want to be doing that all day long. Why? Because why I have my back turned right over here, inundating myself with all this stuff that I don't understand. And we talked about this earlier. I don't pick things up as quickly as everybody else does all the time either. Hire a guy. That's all he does all the time, guy or gal. Let them do that. So then we can work on the business things that need to be worked on, right, opposed to working in the business on these things, right? Like we got people that account payable, receivables, financials, estimators, all these things that I used to do it.
Oh, yeah.
Used to do all of it. But you said earlier, we've created this bottleneck.
Yes.
And I think where a lot of that came from at first, why I did everything, was pride. Nobody can do it as good as I can.
Right.
Well, how long were you stuck in that?
I got stuck in that for probably a good 6 years. If it was a technical job, I would delegate some work out to some crews. But if it was a technical job, I had to do it, right? I had to be there. If there was a new piece of equipment, it was a $30,000, $40,000 machine, I had to drive it. If anybody wrecks it, it's going to be me, And then I got to the point where it was like they just don't make sense no more. Like you can't do this. You can't go any further. You stopped growing, right? And then so I had to. I can remember it clearly one day when I just said, you know what? I said to crews out, I said, I don't care what they do. I said, I don't care if they wreck the trucks, break the machines. I said, everything's insured. Of course, I didn't want them to do that.
Of course
but
not.
I let them go. And I found out that those guys were skilled carpenters, that they were better than me. And, so I had, given up the tool belt per se, for the show.
Yeah.
And it created all kinds of freedom, but that's when my growth as a business owner really started to accelerate, right? Because I got the estimators out there, I got the administrators, the junior executives in the office, I got inside sales, outside sales, I got the production team, right? I got people working in business development, and I'm generating ideas, and so like my role had changed to where I'm more of an individual coach to key members of my staff, where I meet with them and I keep a pulse on the company, KPIs and stuff like that, and see like how everybody's doing it and are things progressing. And once I stayed stuck in it for a bit. But like I said, I couldn't get past, $1 million, $2 million. I'm like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Right. And I'm like, how are people doing it?
Yeah.
Well, that's how they're doing it.
I asked myself the same question.
Yeah. You don't see Sam Walton out there working. Well, of course he's dead now, but he wasn't out there working a cash register, was he?
No.
He was out flying airplanes around looking for locations to drop Walmarts. Yeah. Great book, by the way.
Yeah. No, I love that. I love that. So how long did it take you? So once you started, when the pain was great enough, right? You started to release the pride, starting to humble yourself a little bit and realize that, hey, I do have people in this building that are actually really good at what they do. Okay. Where now I'm just mediocre at everything. I can't excel anywhere because I'm wearing too many hats.
Yes.
Right. And I stayed stuck in that for a minute too. So how long did it take for you? Okay. So there's two things that at least happened for me. When I started to let things go, I found that I had more time on my hands, but I found myself like I didn't know what I was supposed to be doing anymore.
Yeah.
Did you suffer from that at all?
I did because at first I started feeling guilty a little bit because I'm like, man, I'm out here at the beach, I'm riding my motorcycle around out here, I'm hanging out, going to the casinos, I'm doing this, and my staff is in there working, right? So I felt guilty about that, and then because I'm like, man, I don't want the guys to see this stuff. They're going to think that this is what it is and that they're slaves and all this other stuff I went through. And then, I really started thinking to myself, like, it was like too much of that started happening. Where I'm like, whoa, I'm like, wait a second, man. Like you're letting your competitors kick your ass. Like you're asleep behind the wheel, bro.
Yes.
Like, do you want these people getting on top of you, getting out of there? Like, no, man, like there's a balance that you got to keep in there. And even when I'm on vacation, I bring the laptop with me. I got the tablet just in case I got to do something on the fly. I got to be an assist to my sales team or something like that. But you have like especially you got to realize like, okay, I could do that if I didn't want to grow at all, right? Once you stop growing, you start dying, right? But once you start excelling and growing, opening new locations, making plans to open more, now you're involved more in your company. It's going to require more of your presence, right? And you got to be okay with that, right? Because listen, I'm not the guy to go off on the island. You know, I need to be in this. Like, I love being in this. I love competing with the other fence companies out there. You know, it makes us grow, makes us better. I love problem solving, you know? So like I said, I mean, I didn't know what I was supposed to be doing. And thank God I have a coach who said, well, wait a second, Dave, you know, that sounds fun and all that stuff, but here's what I've seen happen to people in the past, you know? So they really laid it down for me. You know, but I went through a couple of years of that.
No doubt. Okay. Yeah. So you had to reel it in. Yeah. You started to get a little taste of the financial success. Yeah. Right. And complacency that I think some of us and some people unfortunately stay in that. And I really think that's why, 80%, I think, and not just roofing contractors, but I think contractors in general, 80% of us go out of business in 4 years, and all businesses, 90% of them go out of business in 10 years. And I think some of that has to do with complacency. Yes. Right. And I've been there, but I've always been that guilty guy. Okay. But most recently, I think when we started to travel a couple years ago, and I really started taking my finger off the pulse. Okay. And we were working. I mean, don't get me wrong. We were just working on something else. It was one of the golden eggs, right? This is the golden goose, and the golden goose has produced golden eggs for us in other avenues, whether it's, investment properties, a landscaping business. How I had a motorcycle shop for several years. I ended up selling to my cousin or my partner, and some other things, right? That just are portfolio companies that we've invested in and stuff like that. So what happened was I had to reel myself back in because I felt like nothing. Thank God. I don't think we were suffering. I was, I mentally was suffering because I felt like, what was I asleep at the wheel? Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
It's anxiety.
That anxiety. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I would, the further and further, and like we're implementing new processes, SOPs, and like, I'm not a part of this. I'm not helping design this. I'm not helping build this thing anymore. Not that we didn't have great people. And the great thing that I did realize from that though was because this was for a good, almost 2 seasons. We traveled for 2 roofing seasons, meaning, or off season conference seasons, so I don't know if that's officially 2 years or maybe 12 months total, but you're
speaking about recently.
Correct?
Yeah. I seen you were all over the place.
We were all over the place and working probably
living
harder.
On the road.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Right. And being insecure the whole time about like what's going on back here at work and trying to keep a clear mind, going live, interviewing people, trying to come up with questions. And I saw the toll that it was taking on the team because we had an entire team media crew. We created a media company, Behind the ToolBelt Media Group today. They were at the Best of the Best last night out there filming stuff.
Congratulations on everything.
Thank you. But okay, so I had this, I always refer back to the big black filing cabinet that I used to have in my office. Okay. And we were digital, but I was still kind of paper. Yeah. Okay. Where I'd get the paper purchase orders and I'd print them out and I'd have the girls put them in the folder. I actually would let somebody else put them in the folders for me and stuff. And we're going back a couple of years now. And so I was ordering all the materials, scheduling the jobs. I mean, everything, estimating, takeoffs, blueprints, the whole 9 yards, right? We'd get the job, purchase orders would come in, mostly new construction stuff. And we had Chris Baker, who's still here, Brandon, Tyler, who's all still here. So there's 3 or 4 people that I turned this filing cabinet over to, that just to give you an example, that it literally created 3 to 4 jobs. Just this one, what I thought was just a job was to receive the purchase order, put it on the calendar, order the materials, schedule the crew. Yeah. That's not one job.
No. To you, it might have been.
Yeah. To me, it might have been. It's
going 1,000 miles an hour.
Right.
Going to get on a Red Bull.
Right. And and that almost killed me. I mean, it really did. My health and everything was suffering. Mental.
I've been there.
Right. So like, they took the filing cabinet out of my office. There's the scratches still on the floor over at the old office. Yeah. So, but what happened was, okay, a lot of things happened there, a lot of good things. And one, the company started to grow exponentially.
Yes.
But then it also started to create more opportunities for other people to come into our organization too, which was a cool thing. But then I found myself sitting at my desk like this. Like I felt obsolete now. They don't need me. Yeah. What am I supposed to be doing? Like all these crazy thoughts were going through my head. And unless you've experienced this, you wouldn't know the feeling that I felt at that point in time, because I was so used to driving hard. Boom, boom, boom. Like every day. And all these things that were stressing me out that I thought that I should be working on, none of them, I couldn't think of what they were anymore. It was so crazy for me. So it took a while for me to realize, what it was I was supposed to be doing. And it's crazy because fast forward to today, I read this book by John Gordon. It's called The Energy Bus.
I have it.
It's a great book. Yeah. I bought all his books. I got the box. It's got all his books. I just gave Lauren 3 of them. She's going to the Outer Banks for a week, and most of them are small reads. Yeah. And anyhow, in that book, he talks about CEO. Yep. Okay. Most people think of a CEO as a chief executive officer. Now, our job today is to create other CEOs, not chief executive officers, but we are chief energy officers. We bring the heat. We bring the energy. We bring the flow, and that helped put that into perspective, not just recently, but like when I read that, I thought that just solidified and galvanized what my job is supposed to be today, because it goes back to even when you go home at night, like when daddy goes home, he sets the tone, right? We're the tone setters here. Yeah. Oh yeah. I don't know how many times I've turned the tides here where somebody could be having a good day until I walked in the building.
Oh yeah. Yeah. There's an energy that emanates.
Yes. So we're the ones that are supposed to bring the energy to the vision, the mission, and the goal. Like I'm on this vision, mission, goal. Like here's the vision, guys. Here's the mission we got to go on. And if we do that, here's the goal that we're going to reach.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like that's like, and it took me a while. There was a weird transition. And then going on the road, traveling around right when I thought everything I know my job now. Okay. As owner, CEO, founder, all those stupid tags I was putting on everything that just to make me feel a little better. Right. I'm still trying to figure it out, and I'm still trying to figure it out. Yeah. You know what I mean? I really am, honestly.
Yeah. We don't all have it together.
No.
From the outside looking in, like, man, this guy really knows what he's doing. But you know what I mean? Think about it. How much do you think I really know? I've been in great education. Right. I just go by my gut. By my instinct, and
intuition.
Yeah, and like you were saying, like, sometimes if you're positive, you can turn a whole entire building around. You can turn any bad scene typically into a good scene, and it's like if I'm having one of those days, those days, man, when you wake up and you just want to rip people's heads off, or you feel some kind of way, and in those days I stay out of the office. Yeah, I'm like, don't go in there. Yeah. You're gonna give somebody a bad day, so don't even go in there. And like setting the tone too, like. Some days are difficult. You know what I'm saying? Like you might have had all different types of stuff. Maybe some irate customers. Maybe some guys broke some stuff over here. Maybe somebody's car got hit over here. Yeah. And all these things going on at once. But when you walk in through the door with your family, you got to set your tone. Yeah. Right. So you don't want to come in there complaining about how bad your day was. Because what type of examples are you setting for your kids? Yeah. Oh, why would I want to be in business? Yeah. Look at the way that's affecting dad. Right. You know what I mean? Right. I think about that stuff. I'm not good with it 1,000%. Yeah. But I'm conscious of it. Yes. And working on trying to get better. Yeah. And letting go. Right. Of that. So when you go home, you can kind of turn things on. The other thing is too, I'm glad you brought that up, because I don't want my house in chaos. No. When I go home, that needs to be my peace and serenity. Yes. But I play the part in that, because when I get home, the family's just family. Right. Yeah, they're doing their thing. Yeah, they're doing their thing, man. And being all happy, giddy, enjoying because of what we do. Right. They get to live that life, and it's like, okay, well then I want to come home and piss on everybody's parade. Yeah, ungrateful little mess. Throwing their dinner in the garbage, feeding it to the dog. Yeah, but it's like this is the thing, and like you said, we have to lead by example. So, do I want to complain in front of my family, my kids, my children? No, because then they're going to be complainers, and this goes into we talk about we are the sum of. Right. We are influenced by our environments.
You know, whether we know that or not, from the time we were hanging out with the guys on the street corner,
Yeah.
those were our influence. Our school teachers were our influence. How we thought, how we think, you know, is because of our environment that we were in or put ourselves in, regardless. And it's like, I'm very aware and conscious of that. And I've actually been kind of like trying to study that, because you hear people say, where are the sum of? Yes, but let's dig a little deeper into that. Like today, I do have a choice. I have a choice to like what media outlets I'm listening to, what podcasts I'm listening to, what books, what specific things I need to study to become a better parent, a better entrepreneur, a better leader, right? Because you were talking about like we could go to school for all these things. It's like, that's great. That's general stuff. But today we have a choice to divulge ourselves in whatever, and then surround ourselves around risk takers, people that have been successful, people who have seen 9 figures, people who have, you know what I'm saying? Like those are the people, and not be intimidated or insecure or fearful.
Because they were where you were at.
Yes.
At one point in time.
And ask questions.
Yes.
Yes. You know what I mean? So it's like, yes, we are the sum of.
Right.
Even going way back. So it's like, why do I want to go home and be all these things that I don't want my kids to grow up to be? Yes, I want them successful. Yes, I want them wealthy. And I'm talking wealth in health and spirituality and physical fitness. And that's what I mean by wealth and success, first and foremost. And what that is if we can work on ourselves, right? That's the input. The output is the financial success.
Absolutely.
That's where financial security, where that lack of insecurity goes away. Even if we're broke, it doesn't matter, because we're okay with us, because we're taking care of ourselves mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, all these things, as long as you're in a good spot, because it is, at the end of the day, it's our perspective. It's our perspective. It's that paradigm.
It's always a perspective.
Paradigm is how we see things, perceive things.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%, you know, and it goes back to like, somebody asked me this the other day, you know, about my past. And, you know, they asked me like what I would do different. And honestly, like nothing. Like I wouldn't want to go back in my past and even have the risk of touching something.
Like the butterfly effect.
Exactly. And because that all led to this, right? So like my tolerance to pain, all that stuff that I went through in the street, because, you know, you got to have a high tolerance for pain to be in business and to growing a business.
Yes.
Like all that stuff led to this, right? So it was fortifying me, forging me for something different. Why I had to go through them experiences, I don't know, 1,000%. Am I happy that I did? Yes. They were very rough, but listen, I wouldn't even want to go back and even disturb anything. The wind, nothing, you know. So it's just when you were saying all that, I was thinking about that. And I'm like, I wouldn't want to change a dang thing.
No.
Prison, nothing. The rehabs, the living in the abandoned buildings, sleeping on the sidewalk, none of it.
Yeah.
So there wouldn't be a Future Solutions. There wouldn't be a Emma. There wouldn't be a Zoe. There wouldn't be a wife. There wouldn't be that beautiful house I live in. Yeah. I wouldn't have it.
No.
Yeah. So we got to keep that in perspective.
Yeah. And I'm glad you brought the tolerance of pain up, because, you know, I think, especially the three of us sitting in this room right now, our tolerance, the threshold for pain for us, the tolerance, I think, is a little bit more than normal people. And I'm going to not categorize us in the normal bucket, because I'd like to think that I don't think we're quite normal. Okay. And that goes for just about any entrepreneur.
I concur.
You know what I mean? It takes a special breed, the 1% of us that can endure that pain, that gamble, that the fear of the unknown, we can handle. Don't get me wrong. I might act out a little time, but that doesn't mean I'm not going through it.
Right.
And driving and getting there. And Janet tells me all the time, she's like, dude, I don't know how you just made that phone call. It's like, somebody had to make it. I mean, we're just going to ignore it? Like, no, I had to deal with it. I had to kiss their ass a little bit. Okay. We had to re-tear their roof off 3 times. I don't know what to tell you. We had to do it. I couldn't run from it. I'm taught today that I'm here to face everything and ride, not fear everything and run.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yes, I'm scared sometimes, but I'm not letting that hold me back like average Joe. You know what I mean? And that's the difference, I think, of what makes us maybe not normal or maybe slightly crazy, because I think that there's a fine line between genius and
it's a mix,
insane.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And being a visionary. Yeah. Right. I read something the other day. I think it was by Simon Sinek, that it's like guys like us, okay, especially us, we just have to have a great imagination, but be humble enough to find those that can actually do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying when I say that? Like,
yes.
I don't have to be the smartest guy, nor do I want to be.
No.
And what's cool about this today is you know what? We don't have to make all the decisions all the time anymore.
No, we don't.
My wife can make decisions for us. Chris Baker can make, Glenn, Stacy, Kim. Dude, I ran the business where they were all outside the door waiting for me to tell them what to do every minute of the day.
Yeah.
And the culture was good, but that was just the culture that we had built.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know what? Like, and then I'd get pissed off about them knocking on the door all the time. Why won't you leave me alone? Well, because I didn't teach them how to think on their own.
Yeah.
Or empower them to be able to do that. You know what I mean? Not to get off track here a little bit, but it's like what has happened is that I'm okay with everybody else making decisions too.
Yes.
But I also need to be okay with them making mistakes.
Oh yeah. Well, that's how they learn. That's how we learn, right? The mistakes are necessary. It's funny you were saying that because, just today I was in the gym and I was working out, and we're going to be implementing a railing and a decking side to our company. And I've been doing all this stuff on my own. I've been writing this business plan out with all these time frames and budgets and how we're going to roll it out and how we got to penetrate the market with it. Yeah. And I was thinking to myself, I said, Dave, give this to your production manager and your inside sales guys to work on this, right? Because I'm empowering them to do that. I mean, my production manager, Trevor Seiler, way smarter than me, right? Kid's never been in trouble in his life. He's got a great education. He's responsible. Trevor Roy, too. Fantastic salesman, fantastic at videos. Give this stuff to them, right? Like, take some of this off your plate. Like, you hired people that are a lot smarter. I just think differently than them. I think in a different perspective, right? I could be $1 million in debt, and my perspective on it's no big deal. This is normal, right? Yeah. This is what happens. This is money for inventory. This is, but if you were to give, like if my wife were to see that, oh my God, that's what's happening. We're going to lose it all. Don't worry about it. Yeah. Everything's under control.
That's why we don't bring that shit home and talk about that in bed. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. But, yeah, great stuff, man. That's a great point.
Yeah, right, it was good. How far are we into this here? Because I know you're busy, David.
44 minutes.
Okay, 44 minutes. Okay, I know you're busy. We got about 15 minutes left. Before we get off here, man, if there was one thing that you wanted to leave with our viewers right now, man, what would that be? Whether it's professional or personal or all the above encompass.
Obviously, the thing about turn your life around. It doesn't matter where you're at. You can start wherever you're at and you can move ahead, right? But I really want to talk about this. And I've talked to a lot of successful entrepreneurs and people that were successful in their trades too. And I always like to ask them one question, and I always say this, like, hey, if you were to do one thing differently, what would that one thing have been through your success, through your growing this company? Keys get 8-9 figure companies, and they all tell me the same thing. They all say, like, hey, I wish I was present for my kids and for my wife, right? And I could always see it choking them up, right? And so that's what I kind of want to end with that. And I want to talk about, like, okay, so some of that stuff might get pushed to the side, but there's two sides to every coin, right? So if you do this thing right, if you do this entrepreneurship right, and you build this stuff out right, and you create the, systems and processes, procedures, you delegate, automate, you eliminate things, you create that space for that freedom to not have to miss anything with your family. Because, people might say, oh my God, as an entrepreneur, you go from working 40 hours a week to working 24/7. That's not true, right? Because we have created a lot of freedom. Obviously, I'm here in an afternoon. It's, what is it, Wednesday? Yeah. Right? I was at the gym before this, right? So obviously, I'm there, I'm present. I just want to leave that with everybody. Like, don't be, like, as my pastor said it. He said, I wish I could do a do-over there. I wasn't present. That I would come home, I would see my son's baseball glove and his baseball by the garage. And I knew what that meant, but I thought it was more important what I was doing. And now I look back and I found out it wasn't that important. Because listen, I could go out of business right now. And I'm telling you, I could rebuild another business, probably another trade, and make $1 million my first year. I built those muscles up, right? I'm not bragging or anything like that. I just know a lot about business now where I could do that, but I cannot do that with my family.
Mhm.
Right.
You
I
can't
cannot
rebuild
break that down and rebuild that. I cannot lose somebody from there. So as long as I got them, I can always rebuild. So I just want to leave that. Focus on your family and let go to grow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I love
And
that.
create that freedom that we all want.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
I love that. I love that you brought that up, because we brought somebody on this week, and I had a good conversation with him on Monday, and he's like, he shared something with his wife in our manual, company manual, that they get a copy of the manual when they start, and they have to sign it. And basically it states in their family first.
Mhm.
And this guy's worked for Fortune 500 companies and stuff. We're blessed.
Mhm.
I'm blessed to have this guy. And he's like, I've never worked for a company like this. He's like, I can't even believe you have that in there.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like, if you got to leave early, leave. You know, if you got to come in late, come in late.
Yes.
When you're here, but I need you here.
Yeah.
Right. And what's crazy about that is it's taken me a long time to come up with that, because I'm not, and I'm still on the fence with this whole work-life balance thing and stuff like that. It's kind of like, when it's time to get shit done, it's time to get shit done. Right. Yeah. I call it more like work-life blend. And when I talked about a lot of the traveling, my family comes with me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? To these other locations and stuff like that. And she knows, like, hey, this is what she signed up for. And having the right significant other too, to be patient and tolerant, because there are nights that we got to burn the oil, the midnight oil and stuff like that, but they see the dream, they see the goals, they see the vision, the mission. Yep. And the goal there. So that, I think, is key too, is having the right significant other. And I think the three of us sitting in this room have been blessed with those that stuck. I hit the jackpot. That stuck with us through a lot of this stuff. But I love that you brought that up, like your family. Yes. And that's the thing that I think as individuals, I don't want to sum it up as men or women, but I think work, we think that's what we need to be doing to be providing for our families, is just killing ourselves, working, putting the hours in, trying to bring that paycheck home. And that, yes, it is. We need them to have shoes and clothes and food and refrigerator and lights and internet and the iPads and all those things that we think our family needs, right? They do need those things, right? But there's also that time that we carve out. And it's like, we got to be intentional with that time. If we see the glove there, you got to think to yourself, how important that mission that I was on when I was going to ignore that glove sitting there. Mm-hmm. Can that wait till tomorrow, or can I delegate that to somebody else to spend probably only 10 minutes to throw the ball back and forth until they get distracted with a buddy that just rode his bicycle down the street, and now all of a sudden they don't want me anymore. Yeah. But it was just taking that time out and giving them that 10 minutes and being consistent. Right. And being conscious. This past school year. Yeah. This past school year. Cause I was like, I always had to be the first one here and last one leave. Did it for years. Yeah. Did that too. Okay. Yeah. This past school year, Rocket, I was intentional about when I left for work, because I would used to leave 2 hours before, 2.5, 3 hours before he'd even get up to go to school. Well, this past year, he started VOTAC. And not to hold everybody hostage here, I know we're running out, but I like to share this because that's such a great topic that you brought up, because there is a time and a place to bust your ass. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's so much easier for us now, being in the position that we are, to talk about the work-life balance and things like that, because I don't want people to think, I only have to work 40 hours a week my first year in business. That I don't think that's the case. You know what I mean? That now, if you're trying to, you probably won't last very long. Okay. So it's easy for us to sit here today and talk about that work-life balance or blend. Okay. Because it won't happen. You're going to have to kill yourself, literally, almost get to the brink of suicide and homicide or something. At least for me, I don't think we'd be here. And Jen and I laugh about that all the time. But that intentional time with your family, whether it's 10 minutes or an hour, date nights every Tuesday, come hell or high water. I don't care if we're in town, out of town. Tuesday night, date night. Jana, I know I need to leave here. I work out in the afternoons. I know I got to leave an extra hour early if I want to work out. I know I need to be ready, front, center, present, ready. Yes. 5 p.m. The most important part, present. Yeah. Mentally present. Yeah. That doesn't mean why we're at Outback, I'm like this. Yeah. Put the phone away. Yeah, got to put the phone down. That's not that important. Yep, I'm still guilty. Yeah. And 9 chances out of 10, I'm just scrolling Facebook anyhow. Oh, yeah.
We're all guilty of it. You know,
right.
it's a habit. And, you know, I just wanted to, somebody who taught me about that. He probably doesn't even know it. But he influenced me a lot on that was Eric Obrant.
Yeah.
Is that how you say his name? Obrant?
Yeah. Yeah. I call him Erico.
I'm telling you, every time I see the post with him with this kid and the ice cream and be intentional with your time. He's got that theme going. And it's almost like he branded that somehow. And it's in my head.
Good.
You know?
Yeah.
And
I'll let him know.
That. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll let him know. I talk to him every Tuesday.
Yeah.
Yeah. Every other Tuesday, actually. But no, great episode, brother.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for carving out some time to come out here. I know it's a big day. It's a national holiday. It's a birthday at your house.
Emma's birthday.
Yeah.
Pool party.
Yeah. There you go. So, but thank you. And thank you everybody for tuning in again. I hope you guys enjoyed this as much as I did on your lunch break today. Until then, next week, we have another great guest coming on next week. He comes from the insurance side of things.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's going to be good. Doug Quinn.
Ben? Oh, Quinn. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Doug. Yeah, a guy that I met on the road. Got to speak with him on a panel at Win the Storm this past year. He's got great stories, an OG in the roofing insurance industry. Yeah, old school guy. And
a lot of value there.
Yeah, a lot of value there. A lot of stuff we're going to learn. Yes. For sure. Yeah, for sure. By listening to him. Hopefully I can shut up long enough to listen to what he's got to say. So anyhow, thank you guys. Thank you, David. And you guys have a great day. And we'll see you next week at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Yeah. See you guys.